The wrong bus. Oliver's morning started the same way as always. He woke up, hit snooze 3 times, and finally dragged himself out of bed. The coffee machine was broken again, so he grabbed a cold slice of pizza from the fridge. It wasn't great, but it was food. Then he ran out the door, almost forgetting his bag. He was already late for work. As he rushed to the bus stop, he checked his watch. 8:42 a.m. If I miss this bus, I'm doomed. The bus arrived, and he jumped on, out of breath. He found a seat by the window, ready for another boring day at his office job. He worked in customer service, answering emails about missing packages and wrong orders. It wasn't exciting, but it paid the bills. Then, after about 10 minutes, he noticed something strange. The streets looked different. His usual coffee shop, nowhere to be seen. The old bookstore on the corner, gone. Instead, he saw a huge park with cherry blossom trees. Oliver's stomach sank. He had taken the wrong bus. He pulled out his phone, checking the map. Great. This bus is going in the opposite direction. He sighed. Maybe he should just get off and take another one back. But something stopped him. For the first time in years, he wasn't following his usual routine. He wasn't sitting at his desk, answering emails, drinking terrible office coffee. He was somewhere new. Oliver hesitated, then did something completely unexpected. He stayed on the bus. As the city passed by outside, he felt something strange, a small, exciting feeling in his chest. Maybe today wouldn't be so bad after all. Oliver got off the bus in a neighborhood he had never seen before. The air smelled of fresh bread, and the streets were lined with tiny shops, colorful walls, and people who didn't look rushed like in his part of the city. He checked his phone. He could still turn around, catch the right bus, and make it to work. Just late enough to get a warning, but not fired. Instead, he slipped his phone back into his pocket. Across the street, a small cafe had a sign that read, "Try something new." Oliver chuckled. It felt like the universe was playing a joke on him. He walked inside. The place was warm, with wooden tables and the smell of cinnamon. A few people sat with laptops, notebooks, or just cups of coffee, lost in their own world. Oliver ordered a cappuccino and found a seat by the window. As he sipped his drink, he noticed the man at the next table. He was in his 50s, wearing a blue sweater, scribbling in a notebook with a deep frown. Oliver tried not to stare, but the man suddenly looked up and caught him. "Do you ever feel like you're wasting your life?" the man asked. Oliver blinked. "Excuse me." The man tapped his pen on the table. "I mean, do you ever wake up and wonder if you're in the wrong story?" Oliver opened his mouth to reply, but he stopped. The truth was, he did feel that way. Every morning, every night. "Yeah," Oliver admitted. "I do." The man smiled. "Then maybe you're finally ready to change the story." Oliver sat back, his heart racing a little. He had only taken the wrong bus this morning, but now it felt like he was on the edge of something much bigger. The man pushed the notebook over to Oliver. "Here," he said. "I'm writing a story, but I need someone to help me finish it." Oliver looked at the notebook. He wasn't a writer. He had never written anything other than reports for work. But something about the man's eyes made him curious. "Help you finish it? I don't even know how to start," Oliver said, feeling a little embarrassed. The man chuckled. "You'd be surprised. Sometimes the best stories come from the things we least expect." He tapped the page. "Just write what comes to your mind. No right or wrong answers." Oliver hesitated. He wasn't sure what to write. He hadn't written anything for fun in years. But he picked up the pen. "Okay, here goes." He looked down at the blank page. He thought about his morning, the wrong bus, the strange feeling he'd had, the cafe, and now this strange conversation. It was all so different from his usual routine. "I'm not sure where I'm going, but maybe I don't need to know. Maybe I need to enjoy the ride." He stopped, unsure if that made sense. But the man smiled, nodding. "Exactly," he said. "You see, Oliver, you're already on a journey. Life doesn't come with a map, and there's no perfect path to follow. You just have to take the next step. Whatever it is, just take it." Oliver looked at the words he had just written. "Maybe I don't need to know." For the first time in a long time, Oliver felt a spark inside him. It was small, but it was there. Maybe he had been too afraid to take chances before. Maybe he had spent too long trying to follow the perfect plan. Maybe, just maybe, he had been waiting for permission to change. And here, in this cafe, he realized that he didn't need permission at all. The man finished his coffee, closed the notebook, and stood up. Sometimes, the hardest part is simply taking the first step. It sounds easy, but it's not. He gave Oliver a warm smile. "But trust me, it's worth it." Oliver watched the man walk out of the cafe. His words stayed with him, echoing in his mind. The hardest part is the first step. After a while, Oliver stood up too. He wasn't sure what he was supposed to do next, but something was calling him. The day wasn't over, and he hadn't quite figured everything out, but he felt different. He stepped outside and took a deep breath. The sun was low in the sky, casting a soft golden glow on everything. There was still time before his usual evening routine of TV and microwave dinners, but today felt different. He began walking down the street without a destination, his mind racing. What did he want to do? What did he want to feel? The routine that had ruled his life suddenly seemed so small. Then, as he passed a community center, he saw a sign, "Art classes, no experience needed." Oliver stopped. He stared at the sign. He hadn't touched a paintbrush since high school. He was no artist. He had always been too practical for such things. But today, something inside him said, why not? He walked inside, feeling a bit ridiculous, but also strangely excited. The woman behind the desk smiled at him. "Looking to sign up?" "Yes." "I'll take the next class," Oliver said, still unsure of what he was doing, but not caring anymore. She handed him a form. Great. Class starts in an hour. As Oliver filled out the form, he realized something. He wasn't just signing up for an art class. He was signing up for something bigger. He was stepping out of his comfort zone, trying something he had never thought about before. For the first time in years, he felt alive. The art class was everything Oliver didn't expect. He had imagined that he would feel out of place or awkward, but instead, he felt surprisingly calm. The room was filled with people of all ages, each with their own canvas and paints. There was no pressure, no judgment, just a group of people expressing themselves. Oliver picked up a brush, dipped it into the blue paint, and hesitated. He wasn't sure where to start, but the teacher, a woman with kind eyes, walked over and smiled. Just let the brush move. Don't think too hard about it. Oliver nodded, feeling a little silly, but he let the brush glide across the canvas. Slowly, he began to relax. The brush strokes felt free, almost like he was painting his own emotions. As he painted, his mind wasn't focused on the things that usually crowded it. Work, bills, deadlines. It was just him, the colors, and the blank canvas. A few hours later, the class ended, and Oliver stood back to look at his painting. It wasn't perfect. In fact, it looked a little messy, but he didn't care. The act of creating had been more important than the result. He had stepped into something new, and it had felt good. As he walked home, Oliver couldn't stop smiling. He felt a lightness in his chest, as if the weight of routine and expectation had lifted, even if just for a moment. This wasn't a mistake, he thought. This is my first step towards something new. And it felt like the beginning of something much bigger. A week passed, and Oliver went back to the art class. This time, he was more confident. He didn't overthink the brush strokes, letting himself feel the process rather than focus on the final product. Each time he walked into that room, he felt like he was leaving something behind. The worries, the old expectations, and the tight grip of his old routine. One evening, Sarah, his old friend from work, texted him. "Hey, are you okay? I haven't heard from you lately." Oliver smiled. He hadn't told Sarah about quitting his job or joining the art class yet. She would probably think he was having a midlife crisis. But instead of brushing her off, like he usually did, he decided to tell her the truth. He picked up his phone and typed, "I quit my job. I'm doing something new. I'm taking an art class." Within seconds, Sarah replied, "I'm proud of you. I always knew you had something more inside you. When can we catch up?" Oliver grinned. He hadn't expected that. The next weekend they met at park, and Oliver shared everything. How he felt stuck in his old life, how the bus ride had been the start of his new journey, and how the art class had already begun changing him. "I don't know where this will lead," Oliver said, "but I feel free, like I'm finally doing something that's just for me." Sarah looked at him with a thoughtful expression. "You're chasing your own path, Oliver. I think it's going to be amazing." That night, as Oliver lay in bed, he thought about his journey. It hadn't been easy or planned, but had started with a wrong bus ride, a conversation with a stranger, and the courage to take a step in a new direction. He still didn't know where it would end, but now that didn't matter. For the first time in a long time, Oliver felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The journey had just begun.